Can I tell you a secret? Of course you want to hear it. We all do. Because right now, as you're watching this, your brain is doing something it's been programmed to do for hundreds of thousands of years. You're listening for gossip. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. Gossip isn't merely some guilty pleasure or social faux pas. It's far more than entertainment. In fact, gossip may be one of the most important evolutionary adaptations humans ever developed. It quite literally helped build civilization. I'm serious. The same behavior your mom told you was rude? The thing you feel slightly guilty about when you're talking about someone who isn't in the room? That behavior is written into your DNA. It's in every culture, every society, everywhere humans have ever lived. And today, we're going to explore the reasons behind this fascinating phenomenon. Let's start with a captivating study. A few years ago, researchers conducted an experiment where they provided several hundred Americans with recording devices to track their conversations over several days. What they found was remarkable. On average, people spent 52 minutes per day talking about people who weren't there. That's nearly an hour every single day dedicated to gossip. Think about that for a moment. 52 minutes. That's time you could be spending doing something productive, finding food, building shelter, caring for your family, and yet, we dedicate almost an hour daily to this seemingly frivolous activity. This leads to what researchers call the gossip paradox. From an evolutionary perspective, gossip is puzzling. It requires considerable time and energy. You're giving away potentially valuable information. So, here's the million-dollar question. What's the benefit for the gossiper? Professor Michelle Gelfand from Stanford Business School put it perfectly when she said, "It's unclear why gossiping evolved as an adaptive strategy at all." But here's where it gets interesting. Because when scientists actually studied gossip across various cultures and throughout history, they found something incredible. Gossip isn't new. It's not a product of social media or even modern society. It has deep roots that stretch back to the earliest human civilizations. From ancient Mesopotamia to classical Greece and through medieval Europe, gossip has always been a part of societal interaction. Anthropologists have extensively studied hunter-gatherer societies around the world, revealing that gossip was a fundamental aspect of social life. But here's something fascinating from the historical record. In many traditional societies, gossip wasn't seen as the negative thing we often think of it as today. It was understood as social information sharing. It was news. It was your community's Wikipedia. In fact, there's brilliant research showing that in societies without written language or formal legal systems, gossip served as the primary mechanism for maintaining social order. If someone cheated their neighbor in a trade or violated community norms, how would others know? Through gossip? Historians looking at medieval English villages found that reputation built and maintained through gossip was often more valuable than material wealth. Your reputation could determine whether you got help during harvest time, whether your daughter could marry well, whether you could borrow tools from neighbors. Gossip served as the social currency that keeps communities functioning, and it still does. So, if gossip is so important, how does it actually work? What's happening in our brains and in our social structures when we gossip? Enter some groundbreaking research from Michelle Gelfand and her team. They wanted to understand the evolutionary mechanics of gossip, so they did something brilliant. They created a virtual world populated by agents, think of them like Sims, but for science. These virtual agents could use different strategies for sharing information about each other. Some gossiped, some didn't. Some shared accurate information, some didn't. Then the researchers let this simulation run for thousands of generations. Here's what happened. Gossip 1. After running thousands of iterations, 90% of all agents eventually became gossipers. Let me say that again. When given the choice, virtual populations naturally evolved toward gossip. But why? The researchers discovered gossip serves two critical functions. Function 1. Reputation dissemination. Gossip spreads information about people's reputations. This helps you connect with cooperative people and avoid selfish ones. In other words, gossip is a survival strategy. Function 2. Selfishness deterrence. Here's where it gets really clever. When people know that information about their behavior is being shared, they act more cooperatively. They behave less selfishly around known gossipers. Think about it this way. If you know that Karen from accounting is going to tell everyone whether you were helpful or selfish in that meeting, you're more likely to be helpful, right? This created what the researchers called a mutually beneficial relationship. Gossipers kept people honest, and reputation-conscious people gave gossipers power. They needed each other. Now, let's be honest. We all know gossip can be incredibly damaging. Rumors can ruin lives, false information can spread like wildfire. So, how do we square this with the idea that gossip is evolutionarily beneficial? The key finding from research is that cooperation thrives only when gossip is accurate. When the virtual gossipers spread false information, the system broke down. Trust eroded, cooperation collapsed. Accurate gossip built communities. Inaccurate gossip destroyed them. This actually explains a lot about human psychology. We have a deep, visceral reaction to people who spread false rumors. We call them names. Liars, backstabbers, troublemakers. Why? Because for thousands of years, inaccurate gossip threatened the survival of our communities. But there's another misconception we need to address. Many people, particularly in American culture, assume gossip is always negative, always disparaging, always undermining social cohesion. Gelfand points out that this misconception has crowded out our understanding of the positive nature of gossip. Research shows that most gossip is actually neutral or even positive. We share information about promotions, relationships, accomplishments. We warn friends about dangerous people. We celebrate others' successes. The negative stereotype of gossip as purely toxic? That's actually a relatively recent cultural development, particularly strong in individualistic Western societies. So, what does all this mean for us today? Living in a world filled with social media, instant communication, and global connections? First, it is important to realize that the urge to gossip is not a character flaw. It's an evolutionary adaptation. We're wired to be curious about others' behavior and to share that information. Second, gossip plays significant roles in our social lives. It helps us to identify trustworthy people, understand social norms, build and maintain relationships, enforce community standards, process social information. Think about it. When you're considering working with someone new, what do? You ask around, you check references, you look at reviews. That's formalized gossip. When your friend tells you about their terrible date, they're not just venting. They're sharing valuable information that helps you navigate the social world. But here's the critical part. Research shows that gossipers who build positive reputations are accurate. If you want to harness the social power of gossip, you need to be known for sharing truthful information. As Gelfand notes, if you're a gossiper, people will know you're a gossiper. This can be an advantage so long as you also have a reputation for being accurate about what you spread. In our modern world, this means being skeptical of information, verifying before sharing, and being honest about uncertainty. It means being the person who provides reliable social information, not the person who spreads rumors. So, let's take a moment to reflect on this. Gossip is ancient, it's universal, and it's fundamental to how humans cooperate. For hundreds of thousands of years, gossip has been the invisible force that held societies together. It spread crucial information about who could be trusted and who couldn't. It encouraged people to behave cooperatively because they knew their reputation mattered. Our ancestors who gossiped effectively, who shared accurate information and built good reputations as reliable sources, had evolutionary advantages. They formed better alliances, they avoided dangerous people, they built stronger communities. And that's why, today, you spend nearly an hour every day talking about people who aren't in the room. It's not a bug, it's a feature. The next time someone accuses you of gossiping, you can smile and say, "Actually, I'm engaging in an evolutionarily adaptive behavior that promotes social cooperation and community cohesion." Or you could just say, "But did you hear what happened?" Because, at the end of the day, we're all just doing what humans have always done. Sharing stories, building connections, and trying to navigate this complex social world together. And that's the real secret about gossip. It's not about being mean or judgmental. It's about being human. Thanks for watching. And hey, feel free to share this video. After all, sharing information about other people is what we do best.